So, welcome everyone. I'm glad to have you all here today in this talk about architecture. So we will have Miriam, Vázquez, Galir, Barros, and Govers. Thank you all. And they will start with short presentations of themselves and then a 15 to 20 minutes speech. And after that, we can have questions and answers. So enough for me now. Welcome all and just enjoy. So Miriam, you're up now.
Okay, so I am Miriam Vázquez. I'm the owner of M+V Partners, and I think the general presentation of the meeting includes a presentation of the company. So I think I will start directly sharing the screen so I can use part of this time for that. So thank you, Miguel, for all these webinars and virtual meetings that I think are very important at this moment. And when Miguel called us to participate in this one, we chose the topic of management of international projects with offshore teams that I think can help everyone to understand maybe and to apply our tools in your companies or in your projects. I am very happy to share this meeting with two talented women as well. And I hope you can enjoy. So I start. 1 second. Okay. So we are expert in international design management and fit out services. And we will explain a little bit more about fit out in any case that anyone or someone doesn't know exactly what it is. And we started to develop this type of projects in 2015 when I moved to Italy. And during these 2 years, from 2015 to 2017, we work in a traditional procedure, let's say. We were all the team based in Italy as an implant in an interior, in a general contractor expert in hospitality interior fit outs. The designers were in UK, Paris, and Amsterdam normally, and the projects were in Astana, in Kazakhstan. Then at this moment, during these years, we understood how to work in this type of process and this type of, and try to create a methodology as I had to come back to Spain and as my family was here because of personal reasons. So from 2017 till 2019, we were developing the same type of projects, but we started to develop the methodology that today has allowed us to work in remote without many problems. So basically, we start presenting the company with just brief information. We are 100% Spanish architecture boutique firm, 100% specialist in execution phase, as we work normally developing concepts from others. In Spain, I mean, locally, we do architecture concepts, but internationally, we develop concepts from other designers. We are 100% women board members. This is because it's only me, but the clients doesn't have to know this. 100% women staff, and this is not made on purpose. This is just by coincidence that at the moment we are 100% women staff. 50% Spain-based team, because as we work on a project basis, we normally outsource most of our expertise on favorite vendors or favorite partners, as we call them. So 80% of the team is based offshore. That means basically in Italy. Then we speak 5 languages to be able to develop this type of projects, which are Spanish, English, Italian, French, and Russian. We have 50% internal staff because of the internal Spanish team, and 85% external favorite partners and vendors. Most of them experts in detailed furniture design and furniture fabrication. We have 21 years working in the sector, not in the fit out sector, but just in architectural and interior design. 9 years working offshore, and our projects, 90% are offshore international projects, and we have experience in 4 continents. This presentation is available for anyone who wants, so I will not get further into the details, otherwise I will not leave time for the rest of the people in the webinar. So basically, normally our scope of works start with receiving the information from the designers, which is the concept design based on mood boards, sketches, visuals, and finished schedules that we have to collect and complete in some documents, which are detailed design drawings, bill of quantities, and with this bill of quantities, make the pricing for the client of the complete fit out. And also one thing that is one of our main skills, which is the added value engineering. Added value engineering in this type of projects means trying to find the solution that fits the budget of the client, getting the look and feel that the designer wants with respecting the concept design. So once we finish the pricing and the budget is approved by the client, we use this bill of quantities as a procurement log, and we do the procurement, the logistics, and we control the transportation to Kazakhstan in this case, but we are opening the market also in Saudi Arabia. We also control the installation. So we do the installation supervision, and we stay on site, and we have a person on site until the handover to the client. So we will pass very fast two showcases for all the phases. One, the period we were living in Italy, where we really understood this type of projects and the skills needed in this type of projects, which are very different to architecture normal works. The first project is we are going to show is the Villa Astana. It's the first project of this family office. We are working always for one client, which is also a problem in the company. We need to diversify, obviously. And we normally receive the documents you see here, or a sample of the documents you see here, like sketches, mood boards, and renders and visuals. We start developing the technical drawings. Every time we receive these documents, we start in Madrid with the BOQ and procurement log, and in Italy with the technical drawings. So the process is always the same. This is a sample of the BOQ that you will understand later how we work with it in remote. These are the materials. We cannot show the whole rooms because all of the projects being from a family office, they are confidential. So we have to just use partial images. They are all under an NDA. But in private meetings, we of course show the complete finished work. So we deal with also the lighting, FF&E, and as we are there until we finish with the designers the complete work, we do also the handover. This is the second project we did in being as an implant in Italy. It's Talent Towers offices. This is one of the main buildings developed in Kazakhstan for the Expo New Energies 2017. So the general contractor from Italy got the contract of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, and they allow us to participate in the fit out of the offices as well. So we received from Perkins & Will, the designer was Spanish, Sergio Gomez. So we had the benefit of the language. And we did the same process, exactly the same. We got the concept, we developed the technical drawings, we sourced all the materials from Tunis, Portugal, Turkey. These are my own pictures. All of them are my own pictures. None of them are photographer pictures or anything. These are made by my iPhone. So we visited the quarries, we selected the materials, and we procured them. Also, this feature wall was brought from a company in Spain, Fractalia, and we did a value engineering work very strong here, reducing the cost €1 million, according to the specified by the designer from UK. So that is the reason why we had the chance of continue working with the client, I think. Because of the markets we were experts in were cheaper than the markets specified by the designers. So then in 2017, I come back to Madrid because I couldn't manage all this traveling, family based in Madrid. trips to Astana, to Kazakhstan, which is 1 day traveling and site visits. And we decided to start in Spain from zero, but the client kept on calling us for doing the same work. So we decided to start this smart working process. So I will pass very fast this and try to explain how we work now. So once we get these are the 2 projects we are going to see now are the ones we have done, me based in Madrid, traveling to Italy to meet the design team, to London, Paris, or Amsterdam to meet the designers, and to Astana to do meetings with the local team. They do the civil works and they do the local works. So we have to control and coordinate all these people. And for that, we have set up a procedure that I will explain. This is the first project we did in this situation. It's a penthouse in the Talent Towers, again, over the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Ritz-Carlton Residences. Same issue, concept design, technical drawings. Oops, sorry. This is the apartment as we receive it, and then the selection of all finishes and materials, lighting, and handover to the client. This is the 4th project in Kazakhstan. This is an apartment in Almaty, again for this family office. In this project, we had to reduce the budget of the furniture, so we produce finally the furniture locally with our shop drawings. So the benefit of the client with our system is that they can fabricate in Italy, or they can fabricate in China, they can fabricate in Turkey, they can fabricate anywhere, because the fabrication drawings we do ourselves. We don't relate the fabrication drawings on a factory. So we receive again the concept design with the visuals, the mood boards, the renders. We selected and procure the materials, and we send to Astana, controlled by this procurement log that I will explain now how we use them. Again, the lighting and the handover to the client. So this is the list of what I want to explain today. Basically, that was the first 10 minutes were an introduction to what we do and who we are, and how we work is how I want to explain now. So I had the problem that I had to spend a lot of time traveling. That means most of my time, like 90% of my time, was traveling from one place to another, from Madrid to Italy, to Kazakhstan, to the designer's office. So it was difficult for me to train people in my office, the methodology that in Spain we don't even know. I mean, in Italy, they know very well how to work with this type of projects, but in Spain, it was really difficult. So at the end, we decided to create an executive management book, which is this one. So every time someone new arrived to the company, we use this manual and we let them understand how the company is organized. This is our org chart. We have an executive main office, which is Madrid. Now we are everybody at home, but it's the same. We work the same way. So nothing has changed for us. And thank God in this period, we have signed our fifth project in Kazakhstan. It's in another villa. So 2,000 square meters of fit out again. And we started like if we were working normally in the office. So we have an Italian office manager, which is Federica. I guess she's connected now. So we needed an Italian person, of course, because we deal a lot with Italian vendors and Italian design team. Here we can see the European designers we deal with. We have studios that we deal with in UK, in London, in Paris, and in Amsterdam, basically. And our experts in furniture in Italy, we couldn't create a team in Spain to develop the shop drawings yet, even if we are working on that just to reduce a little bit of costs, but we couldn't get it. So in this manual, we explain, I'm not going to get into details, just some of the tools we use. For organizing the weekly works and the projects on a daily basis, and to use a language that everybody, the young millennials, could understand, we understood that the Excel was not the way, and they didn't like it. So we need to use a tool that was that we were able to install in an iPad, in a smartphone, in the computer, everywhere, and to use notifications and the language that the young people use. So we started to use Meister Task. Meister Task is a Kanban finally graphic, where you have on this left side the projects, and then you have the task assigned by to people, and we control what is about to start, what is important, and all this. So Meister Task is an easy and free tool. We use a very, very cheap tools. So basically Google is our main partner in smart working and to manage offshore teams, sorry. So basically every time that we start a project, we create a Google site for the project, and we understood that the people in Kazakhstan, it happens the same as for the Meister Task tool, that they needed a language that they can understand, like an iPhone, like a smart tool. So we start. Let me see if I can pass this. So every time we start a project, we create this Google site. Google site is inside Google Drive, Google Suite, sorry. Tools they are very cheap, and you can control all the communication with the international teams. That for us was the main concern. We had people from different mentalities, different countries, different way of doing. So in every project, we improved this task, this tool, of course. So this was the project of Principal Apartment Ritz-Carlton. As you see, the graphics are very simple for the people on site to understand and for the designers to download the documents. Here we have one person controlling the information loaded in the site. So either the designers or either the client or the people in the construction site, they know this is the most updated information they have to use. So we have like a list of all the people involved in the project, documents, drawings. Here we have architectural drawings and furniture drawings. So in any case, you are with the installers on site, you can get into here and then you go to the link and to the drive, and easily you can check and control all the information on site. You can download, you cannot modify the content because we are in Madrid managing the site. So everybody can look at the information, download it, have a look to it, but they cannot modify the content. So you have all the information for the installation or whatever you need on site. Also the BOQ, before that, or in parallel, we are creating every Google site. This is the bill of quantities or the database we use for every project. So for example, now I have people working at home, like if we were working on the site. And if we want to communicate between each other, we just have to chat. I hope there is somebody there now. So I don't know. Normally you can control here. Okay, they are. So you can see the chat where you can connect. You can see, if you click here, you can see where they are working. So basically this is our basic database where we add all the information of the bill of quantities that will later transform in procurement log. Here we control all the RFIs to designers with the same methodology, all the requests for informations we have to send. Second. And basically all the processes we use are inside a Google Drive. So we just use Google methodology, nothing else. Then we use for the expenses Expensify, which is connected to our emails. But the most important things, or the most important tool we have found, and the clients like in Kazakhstan and also in Saudi Arabia, we are using the same, is these Google Sites, which are a really nice tool to share information between all the teams. Here, for example, we have the pictures of all the site visits, indicating the person that has made the visit. So basically, this is the executive manual management book, which has been very useful for training the new people. Master task to control the projects and the people assigned to every project, and which one is the priority and the task that we have to do every week. Google Drive for sharing files, and Google Site for communicating them and for sharing them. Of course, BIM technology in the AutoCAD, in the drawing tools. But I'm not getting into this because this is very specific from our sector. And that's all. That's a picture from the site. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam, for walking us to the management of international projects with offshore teams. Any questions now, or shall we move forward and then go back to questions and answers? If anyone has something now, just unmute yourself or raise your virtual hand so I can see it. Otherwise, we move forward. Okay, so let's move forward and then we'll come back to questions and answers. So now is time for Galir. She will discuss about interior design and adapting to changes. So Galir, you're up.
Hi, good afternoon to everyone. Well, first of all, thank you to GBO and to you, Miguel Angel, for taking us to account to just share a little bit about our knowledges and how our profession developed on the past decades worldwide. So I'm just only gonna show up one project because I would like to make like a little brief, like a brief tour of the interior design in the past 20th century, in the mid 20th century and the 21st. I mean, how it changed with our lifestyles, because it changed so much, and probably we're not really conscious about this. But it's I mean, if you just look at it, you can look at it. So. At first, for example, when we started with the open concept, for example, in kitchens, that they started on the US and then becoming in Europe as well. I mean, all the benefits that we have with this, for example, is we gain more spaces, we reduce costs because we don't have partitions. We get more natural light, so then we can save in electricity as well. So all these kind of things that they start adapting to our lifestyles, they're pretty important in the interior design, also within architecture as well. I mean, I think we have to go both of them at the same time and to adapt to different timetables, different ways of seeing how we work, how we move, or the different things that we do. For example, now with all this Corona thing and all stuff, I mean, all of us, or at least the 90%, they home office. So we have to transform completely our house. And right now, currently, our houses are restaurants, gyms, offices, everything at the same time. And it's probably, I don't know if you realize this, but when we spend that much time in our house, in an apartment flat or in an independent house, we find out we have like so many things that we really don't need them, or there are so many things that they are like an obstacle that we can go without them. So this evolution from the beginning to removing all those partitions in the open kitchen concept, I think is pretty interesting. And this is what interior design involves us in our studio within Victor, which he's connected somewhere. We do especially interior design for hospitality and from residences. And we have seen all this evolution because we work a lot in Morocco, for example, and also here in Europe and especially in Spain as well. So we can see the different lifestyles from people and the different things that they need. And it's completely different depending on culture and depending on what they do. So for example, one of our projects, I think I'm going to share the screen just a second, because this is one of, okay. Okay. Can you see it? Yes, right? Okay. So when I was talking about the open concept, for example, we got this, that this is, I mean, it's nothing new. I mean, we've been doing this for several years and for several decades, but we're not really conscious about what are all the benefits that we can have. I mean, we socialize more. We need to share with our friends when they come to our house, or we need more light, we need more open spaces, because most of our lives we spend it inside a building. So we need to feel like a little bit free. So that's why the communication in between indoors and outdoors. So we've done this project that was here in Spain. I'm going to show you first. This was currently what we found out on the building site. This was the kitchen. This is the plan updated. This is the up in here is the dining room, and here is the kitchen. But also this was divided as well. Here there was another partition, and here another partition. So what we've done, it was like completely open everything. So from here you can at a glimpse like see everyone in the house. Even if you, for example, if you have children, it's really good because there's no obstacles in between. So it's much better for our lifestyle. So what we've done, apart from changing all materials, bringing all light, because we open all this window, for example, this is how was this view is from this side, from this corner over here. So it's something completely different, but the space is the same one. I mean, we just don't like remove all partitions, bring up all the light, changing materials, doing more better maintenance materials, because I think that's really important. I remember a couple of weeks, well, no, more than a couple of weeks, a couple of months, I was on the IKEA website, and there was this funny test that to check how much time you lose a year open and closing the doors of a wardrobe. So you just were answering these questions, and at the end of the test, they told you, I don't remember exactly the figure, but it was like, it was something completely insane, like, I don't know, 200 hours a year. And that's a lot. I mean, we're not really conscious about how much time we spend doing these kind of things. And the same with the rooms. I mean, usually all the houses, they're, especially in houses, they're totally divided. Dining room in one room, living room in another room, the kitchen in another room, and then also bedrooms and bathrooms at the same time. But if we open all these spaces, I mean, it's more functional. It's much better to socialize, to control your whole area. So I think this is getting developed even more and more. And this started like in the mid-20th century, and it becomes developing even more. Nowadays, what we do have, well, sorry, before that, this was on the first floor. This was the room. This is quite different. I mean, not all clients, they accept that, but what we've done, it was to open completely the bathroom, the dressing room, and the room that you guys see it in here in this plan. That this is the updated plan, and this was the result. So it is true that not everyone can take this in their houses, but it's more comfortable, and as I said before, is more functional. Of course, the toilet still is in a private room, because that's completely compulsory in these cases. And interior design become developing and adapting to our different lifestyles. As I told before, from the IKEA website, for example, in here, if you have everything open, you can see it while you're taking a shower. You can see all the clothes that you have, and you can start thinking about what are you going to dress on. So you're saving time, because we don't have time enough. I mean, I think, I don't know if it happens to everyone, but I was thinking during this past 54 days, I don't know how many days we are confined, but we waste so much time. We don't have time for us. And this, it's really necessary to adapt our houses to our lifestyles. Not only the furniture or the different spaces or different rooms, but also air conditioning, light. I think it's so important, the materials. I mean, we need to feel, to be comfortable, because we're spending a lot of time now. And before, it was completely the opposite. Usually person stays on an average in between 8 to 9 hours at the office. Then it takes half an hour to go there, and another one to come back home. That means like 10, 11 hours a day. Then you sleep in between 7 and 8. So that means that you have 6 hours left. So what you do when you have 6 hours left, I mean, you meet with friends, or you have an event, or you need to travel, as Miriam said before, traveling the whole time, so you don't have time enough. And now we are confined, we have like a lot of time, we find it out that our houses can be converted into different spaces that we haven't before. And now in the present, what we have in interior design is this common eco-friendly, eco-green, eco-everything. And actually we're doing a hotel boutique in the north of Spain. It's pretty small, it's only six rooms, but with a lot of details and very special ones. And in here, what we try to do is just not only to put eco materials, it's just to reduce the impact in everything. For example, all the professionals, we hire all the professionals, like local professionals. So that we reduce all the impact in logistics, transports, and everything. Obviously, it's not always affordable to do this kind of things. It depends on the project. This one is pretty small, but we could do it. And then after that, all the materials we used, they were local as well. For example, like the slates and stones. Then we have, instead of having paintings like synthetic paintings, what we have is this baked clay, center-night baked clay. So this is also an attraction for the tourists, because it's trendy now. I mean, all things that they're eco, they're green. I mean, the people, they really want to go there. So we need to adapt. And this is the present. And then becomes the future. Obviously, the future is unclear. I mean, we really don't know what is going to happen. But now we're living a change. I mean, we have what they were talking that on restaurants to have like separate PVC in between your friends to not get contagious and all those things. Okay, I hope that this is going to be like just for a couple of months. It's not going to be forever, because the human needs to socialize the whole time. But we need to adapt on fabrics, we need to adapt on materials, and we need to adapt on spaces, probably bigger spaces or private ones for a reduced group of people, or things like that, or materials like, for example, that we've been using this for several years on glass partitions in showers, for example. We got these materials that the drop does not get stuck on it. So probably we can do that in the same in bars and restaurants, to just don't leave or don't contagious the other people. So again, the interior design has to adapt to the different lifestyles. So now, obviously, there are so many ideas. We depend on the actions, but I think we need to redefine these ideas, because it's not going to be the same in at the end of the year in a hotel, in a restaurant or something. It's not going to be the same as the last year, because people is going to be more frightened. They probably gonna travel, I don't know, but they're gonna travel less, or they're gonna travel to hotels that they're smaller. So we need to think about that. And once again, the interior design gets adapt to all these changes onto the lifestyle and the way we think and the way we move. So I think this important to think about, and obviously with an architecture as well, and to work all of us together just to achieve something that is trendy, something that is comfortable, that aesthetically likes everyone, and just not to think about just making these partitions that I told before, that as I said before, for example, in bars or wearing masks or everything. We need to move forward. We need to go a step forward, the rest of the people. And for the presentation, well, if you want to check it out, because I haven't spoken a little bit much about the company, we got this is the website, but also on Instagram. We used to update it more, our projects and the things that we do, because we also design a lot of furniture, lighting, and everything for our clients. Really wanted that, because there's like a masterpiece. So for us, we need to start investigating. We also started investigating new materials and new ways of adapting to all these changes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Galir. Any questions now, or shall we move to Co and then go back to questions and answers? If anyone wants to raise their hands now.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm trying to stop sharing the screen, but I don't find it.
I think I can do that for you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So now it's time for Govers. She will discuss a different topic about sustainability in high-end houses. So it's your turn. You're up. You're muted. If you can unmute yourself.
Okay, here we go. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Govers. I'm founder and principal architect of ZEST Architecture, architecture firm in Barcelona. And I'm going to launch straight into the presentation, because that also in the presentation there's some information about the company as well. Let me just go straight in, and yeah, there we go. Okay, my name is Govers. I'm a Dutch architect trained in the Technical University of Delft, and I moved to Barcelona in 2007, and I founded my firm ZEST Architecture in 2009. And we have been, I'm talking today about sustainable strategies for high-end houses, because we are specialists in high-end residential. And currently with the COVID crisis, of course, everybody is more aware than ever how important it is actually that your home is comfortable. And for us, a comfortable home is very much about something that just gets better over time, not about something that is fashionable. We're specialists in high-end residential architecture. We also do other projects, but we do a lot of residential. We're all architects, but some of us are also interior designers or also landscapists. And we have 95% foreign clients who come to Spain usually to build their dream. We also build in Amsterdam at the moment, so we're expanding. We've worked all over Catalonia, Alicante, Mallorca. We are as well. We've got one project that we were able to showcase at the Biennale of Venice in 2014. And sustainability is also our specialty. It is something that I studied long before it became fashionable or important or mandatory or whatever. I studied it because I found that it was interesting and important and whatever. So it's become part of the basis of the firm. We're also passive house designers. So we try and design houses that need as little heating or cooling as possible, if the client wants to go that far, and otherwise we just we give them what they want, but it'll always be much better than anything that just complies with the technical building code at the moment. And why would you care about sustainability? Because maybe it just costs more. But I think we're all right now aware of how health is important, and comfort and health are at the center of sustainability, because a home that is well insulated, that has the right layout, is properly oriented in terms of sun, you will just be comfortable year round. And we also think about things like the toxicity of materials. We'll get to that, see more about that later. All those things are important for your health. It's also good value, actually, because it may cost a little bit more, but actually not that much, because even a complete passive house is only about 7% more on the budget. But you'll have, in the case of passive house, your energy bill will be virtually negligent. If you just have a very well insulated home and well designed, you'll have very low energy bills, and you'll have a higher value for your home in the long run. And this will become more and more important. And it's also important for the future, because the building industry is a huge contributor to global warming. So as much as we all as designers want to keep building, we have to think about how we're going to keep building, because we can't just keep going in the old way. When I say sustainable strategies, in the case of this presentation, I'm going to focus on strategies that have to do with energy efficiency, so reduce energy consumption, those that affect the CO2 footprint of the building, and those that affect comfort and health. Basically, when we talk about energy efficiency, the main important strategies that we have at our disposition are the correct orientation. That is everything. That's the basis of everything. If you can get that right, that is already so much. Shading and windows, so that the sun can come in the winter when you want it, but doesn't come in the summer. And if you can't avoid it completely, then the types of shading are very important. And insulation, which is something that in Spain people think you don't need, but that is not true. So a house is far more comfortable if it is properly insulated in the right way, as we have seen in many projects. And people are often a bit skeptical at the beginning, especially builders, but it is very important. Low CO2 is something that we can achieve by thinking about what kind of construction system we're going to use. So what you see in the photo, for instance, is a construction system called cross-laminated timber, where you can completely prefabricate a house and it comes on site, and the load-bearing construction will be put together in about 5 days, and there's virtually no waste of material. So and it's also renewable material, so you can't really do any better than that. The choice of materials is important. We work a lot with wood, but we also work with things like clay plasters, which are much healthier and renewable, etc. And we think about waste management on site, on our building sites, because we also supervise all the building. All our projects are turnkey, so right from the beginning all the way until handing over the keys to the client. Comfort and health is affected by energy, in the sense that, you know, you do need some heating and cooling, and we always try and do that with renewable systems. We think about purification of water, recycling of water, and we think about the indoor air quality. What does a sustainable house look like? there are people who really think that it has to look very ecological, like the picture on the left, or very machine-like. But actually, any building can be made very sustainable if the right strategies are employed. So it can also look, like this. This is our project, Villa CP, with which we exhibited at the Biennale of Venice. It is the restoration of an old ruin, a farmhouse near Girona. It's currently actually more like a boutique hotel, and all the investments that have gone into making it incredibly sustainable actually are what brings customers. A little bit also in reference to what Galir said before, that people are very interested in that. The customers who come to this place, they love that about this place, that 100% of the water is recycled, that all the materials are sustainable. And you're in a natural park here called the Govers. It's between Girona and the sea, so it is tremendous. This is what it was, a ruin, stone ruin, and this is what you experience when you're there now. As far as the orientation is concerned, this house was already there, this building, and the orientation was not ideal because the view is actually east-facing. But we want to have our living spaces south-facing because that is basically the sort of center point of having the orientation right. So we created a landscape on the south with the natural pool that you saw in this image on the right. So that when you're in the main living spaces here, the kitchen and dining room, you're actually south oriented, but you have a new view. So now we've got two views, not the view to the sea only, we also have the view to the pool. Everything is bespoke in this building. So we created bespoke windows. In some cases, they slide into the wall so as not to impede the view. We created shutters. These are hydraulic shutters that are horizontal on the south side to keep the sun off. On the other facades, there are vertical shutters. There are mosquito nettings, etc. All the glazing is specifically thought out for every facade to be the right one. That all contributes to its energy rating. For the insulation, we devised a system to leave the stone facade because that was a specification. So we had to respect the stone outside of the building, so we had to insulate on the inside. But we wanted to have some thermal mass on the inside because it would be more comfortable, especially in the hot summer. So we created a kind of a new wall on the inside with an air chamber and cork insulation and clay and reed panels. And these clay and reed panels, they get finished with clay and they provide an incredibly comfortable interior climate. Just like adobe buildings would have, you know, because clay has this way of dealing with humidity, and humidity is something that in Madrid you guys don't have so much, I think, but we have. It's tremendous. Barcelona is like the tropics, and near Girona, it does get very humid. In terms of CO2, obviously in this case it works in our favor. We reused an existing construction. We completely redid it. Restored it. We used wood for all the windows. We used clay for the plaster. We used cork insulation. And because the clay plaster is something you don't need to paint, you choose the tone of silica that's mixed in the clay mixture. You don't paint it afterwards. So it's a very non-toxic environment. In terms of energy and water, we installed a geothermal heat pump. So it makes use of the fact that the temperature 100 meters under the surface of the earth is a constant temperature, which in the winter is much warmer than the outside air. It goes down to 0 in this area in the winter. But it's also much cooler than the summer temperature. So in the summer, this allows us to do underfloor cooling. There's a natural pool where the plants are cleaning the water, basically. There's rainwater collection, but also full-on water recycling, which is used to maintain the gardens, basically. And there's solar PV. And in terms of comfort and health, again, the clay plaster, which I mentioned before, is an amazing material, which we sort of fell in love with on this project and now are using a lot afterwards, because we discovered also that it's a completely hypoallergenic. Dust mite can't grow in a clay, in a house finished with clay plaster. And so it's very healthy as a material to use. We've got underfloor heating and cooling, which means there are not a lot of air movement, which means there's less dust. So again, very good for people with allergies. And in this case, there's not a ventilation system, there's cross ventilation with all the windows. We really opened up. These old farmhouses normally have very small windows, but we opened them up on all sides so it can cross ventilate. And we created the look that the owners were looking for, which was a house of the 21st century, but in an old envelope, but still keeping the charm of the old, but combining it with new and modern. The next project I want to show you is something we're going to start building if all goes well. Depends a bit on the quarantine, but 2 months from now, which is a house for 2 foreign clients in the Aragon. This is a natural area, so it's very hard to find a place where you can build, but they found a plot of land near a village where they could build. However, with very strict regulations, and they wanted a striking modern house, but they had to have sloping roofs with roof tiles, and they could not imagine how that could be a modern house. So that was our challenge. Here, again, in terms of orientation, what we've done is we've separated living and, yes, I forgot to tell you about the previous project that we placed the bedrooms downstairs in the end in order to keep them cool. In this case, we wanted to work with the horizontality of the area, the views. It's got amazing views, this house. And so we created 2 wings. One is for sleeping and one is for living, so that we could have perfect orientation for the living spaces, because that has the strongest effect on your energy bill, basically. So this image is taken in winter when the sun does enter the living spaces to help warm them up passively, but in the summer, the eaves help keeping the sun off completely. So it's been perfectly designed so that it keeps it in the shade when it needs to be kept in the shade. And the shady porch in winter has some sun, but in the summer really is a shady porch. In terms of installation, this is a timber frame construction. That means you get the opportunity to put a lot of insulation in, which we did because it was also very cold in winter in this area. It's in the mountains. So there was snow until 2 months ago here. So there's a lot of insulation all the way to passive house standards. And we've used glass wool, which is made from recycled glass, and cork panels. So the areas that are finished with plaster, the plaster is put on a layer of cork. In terms of shading and windows, again, we've done a lot of engineering on the windows, so they slide away all the way into the wall. Basically, the walls are enormous. These packages, they're very thick because there's a box that the sliding window needs to slide into, so that you just have a sort of unimpeded sort of inside-outside effect when the season permits it. But on the facades where, because this is south facing, but on the facade where this could be a problem, there's shading that can help you basically mediate between the sun, you know, as it's necessary. There are shutters here as well, but that's more for security. In terms of materials, the footprint of this house is very, very low. There's a timber frame construction, so the entire structure is it's basically prefabricated with CNC milling, so there's virtually no waste. The rammed earth, this wall is rammed earth. It's similar to the tapia technique that is so traditional in Spain. It's just that in rammed earth technique, we usually tend to, you know, try and bring in a bit more drama using with some oxides and whatever. So it's made from all the earth excavated to make the swimming pool and the foundations, and that is mixed with some aggregate in order to make a structurally a load-bearing wall. But it's also an element that helps keep the building cool in the summer because it brings thermal mass, which is something that in a timber frame construction you're a little bit short of. Again, all the windows in the shutters, they're wood, and the plaster where the walls are white, it's plaster made. Again, it's clay plaster. Energy and water. This house is off the grid, so it's generating all its own energy. It catches all its rainwater and then recycles all the water that's there, and it has a heat pump for the heating and cooling. And in terms of comfort and health, this house does have, because this house is a passive house, so this has a ventilation system that basically brings fresh air all day. You don't notice it, there's no air movement, but the air is always fresh, which means that if it's very hot outside, there's no need for you to open the windows in order to let in some oxygen, because you're getting it anyway. And the ventilation system has heat recovery, so that the hot air in the winter, when it's expelled, gives its heat to the cold air coming in, so that lowers your energy bill. And in the summer, that process is reversed, so that the cool air from the inside is expelled, but then the cool is given to the hot air, hot fresh air that comes in. All climate control is on your mobile, etc. So very comfortable. And our last one is actually, we should have called this COVID house, because this is something that we've just done as sort of a pet project while we were being in quarantine, because our staff was working so hard to just keep everything on track with all our projects. And so as a kind of a gift, 1 day a week, we've been working on a project that we're deciding how it needs to be. So there's no client yet. It's a modular house, but it's thought to be adaptable for steep blocks, because we seem to, the house I previously showed you was on a flat terrain. It's literally the first time I'm getting the chance to build on a flat terrain. And I come from a flat country, but moving to Spain, I've really had to learn what curvas de nivel, the lines for the curves, what they mean, because in Holland, we don't even use those. This is adaptable to steep terrains, and it's extendable. This one has 2 bedrooms, but it can be extended to 4 bedrooms. It's got different forms of shading devices, because of course, when you design a modular house, you don't know where it's going to be yet. So it needs to have a certain flexibility. So there can be horizontal shading devices, there can be vertical shading devices, they can move around. Obviously very high-end windows, but in this case they're not wood, they're going to be aluminium with low E glazing. This construction is with that material I showed before, which is called cross-laminated timber, which is the material for the future, which in Norway, for instance, they use even to make high-rise buildings. It's brilliant, also because of the speed of construction and the control you have as a designer. Very interesting for if you're working on a project that's going to be in another location, like offshore. This is CLT construction, which in itself is insulating already, and then we add wood fiber insulation on the outside on top. Those materials are already low in CO2. The modular construction in itself is a strategy that you can call a low CO2 strategy, because you can adapt something completely to the needs, to the size of the client, and it can be extended as necessary. In this case, you can see that we did a little joke, which is that you enter at the top and you park on top of your own house. Other materials we've used are lime plaster for the facade, wooden slats, clay plaster on the inside. Again, energy and water, we'd install a heat pump, solar panels, rainwater collection, rainwater recycling. All the lighting in our projects is always LED, so low energy. And in terms of comfort and health, again, we would install a ventilation system with heat recovery. The clay plaster in itself also helps control the humidity, but the ventilation system would as well. And in this case, we would install something which is a super energy saving way of heating and cooling, which is radiant sealing, which sounds weird, but it works really well, and it's much faster than underfloor heating, and therefore it just reacts more quickly to the climate, which in Spain is really brilliant, because you might have a really beautiful day and then at night it cools down, and the radiant sealing is much faster at bringing you the temperature that you want. You can do both heating and cooling that way. So that's how we would do that. And this is how you would get in. So you get in at the street, you park on top of your house, then you walk down to your front door, and then the rest of your house is in complete privacy. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this and that it was interesting. At our website, you can see all of our projects. And if you have any questions, then please let me know.
So thank you, Co. Very interesting. So thank you all, Miriam, Galir, and Co, for these very interesting presentations. Now let's open up a round of presentation for questions and answers. So anyone that wants to raise a question, just unmute yourself and ask it, or just raise your hand and I will unmute you. Okay, so let me start with one. This goes for Galir, especially, but well, any of you are experts on this, so go ahead. You discussed about the goods of open rooms and open spaces, and I share that, but thinking in this situation that we have now with the lockdown, in which privacy is kind of an asset for everyone, because we have the kids around and we have to share spaces with our partners who are also working at home. Wouldn't that be an issue to have kind of separate spaces for everyone? If I want to work and I need privacy and a silence environment?
Yeah, this is a tricky question, but thank you for asking. Yeah, obviously now, I mean, as you said, children going around and also what we can do is to have partitions that they're not, that we can move them independent on the room, how we use it. I mean, for example, if you have an open concept kitchen or a living room, and for example, now during all this confinement that we need to be at home and you need to work, for example, in the dining room because you don't have an office room, I mean, just to have partitions that they can move on depending in which room you're going to use, but they're not stuck in there. So you can have like different rooms or mean more polyvalent in that way. I don't know if I answer your question, Miguel, but I think that's the best way, because we're not going to be always like this. I mean, we're gonna recover our lifestyles. We're gonna go back to offices at least, I don't know, in a month, 2 months, whatever, or in a year. So I think that the best way of doing this is just not having stack partitions. I mean, on depending what you're going to use, if you're going to bring friends or if you're going to be with your children and you don't want them to disturb you during working or something, just to move them. I think is the best way, just to combine different lifestyles and situations, obviously.
So that solution is kind of movable walls, so to speak.
Yeah, kind of it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Alvaro, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Galir, Co, and Miriam, three incredible professionals that have shared their knowledge with us. Linking with the question of Miguel, I would like you to tell us if you feel that the COVID situation will change the taste and the point of view of your future clients or your actual clients, and if this will affect to the way are you designing the villas, the projects, and in your cases, if this change depending on the country in which your clients are.
That's a very good question, actually. I think it's too soon to tell if it's actually happened already, but I do think it's gonna. I mean, we always work with clients who are who want quite high-end projects, so they always want very good quality. But I think that will be something that I think more people will be thinking about, you know, because what I've noticed is I come from a country in the Netherlands, we spend a lot of money on our houses and our interiors because we spend a lot of time indoors, of course. And in Spain, in the beginning, it was always so noticeable how, you know, meeting friends, it was always something that you did outside the home. And whereas in the Netherlands, you know, you have dinner parties, you know, people cook for each other and they go to each other's home. And here that is not so much a custom. Now, of course, the Spanish have been, so I always noticed that our foreign clients always had so much, it was so important, their home, but we didn't have so many Spanish clients who wanted, well, they just didn't want to reserve the same budget often. And of course, now everybody's thrown back on themselves, and I think they are going to maybe rethink that a little bit because, you know, this might not be the last time that we are confined for the foreseeable future.
So in my opinion, I think there are sectors that will be directly affected, like food and beverage, hospitality. I guess they will even redesign or rethink hospitals. But in general, I hope residential goes to bigger spaces, because all the developers were trying to reduce spaces and get more density. And I think now they have understood, or we have understood, that we need bigger spaces in our houses, polyvalent spaces. So I hope they rethink. Instead of becoming smaller apartments, we go to multifunctional and bigger and more beautiful houses. Apart from the impact in the, of course, in the touristic sector and food and beverage.
And also, I think, well, actually they have already revalued all those flats, at least in downtown here in Madrid and in Barcelona, in big cities. Those, they have balconies or either terraces, because people, they really feel that it's completely different to be at home during 50 days, that if you have in a terrace that you can go outdoors every time you want. It doesn't matter of the timetable, it doesn't matter of the functions that the government they put. So I think they have been revalued so many, and the people, they're going to think a little bit more of before buying or renting an apartment, to take a look at this, because I think it's pretty important, actually.
Thank you. So, any other questions? Don't be shy. The ladies are answering everything we throw at them. So,
I have a question for Miriam. I was very impressed with your whole system that you explained of, you know, how you work together with everyone, and it was really interesting to see how you've done that, because we had only just sort of started to think about, you know, things like that. It was very inspiring, I have to say. Can I ask you what BIM software you are using?
We are using a Revit.
You are using Revit, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Revit, we also use Rhinoceros and Grasshopper.
Right, okay.
I don't see any hands up. So I will go ahead with another one, because I have many questions. So since you are answering, I will just throw one more. This is for you three again, but it's in line with sustainability topic that Co discussed about. I'm a big fan of solar energy, with solar photovoltaic panels and so on, and I'm about to install a system in my house. And when I saw, I think it was the first house that you showed us, it had solar PV installed. And I've always wondered why, if we have so much area of solar, rooftops all over the world, why don't we move into covering those with solar panels? Is that a matter of cost? Is that a matter of government policies? Is that a matter of consciousness? What is the reason, you think, behind that?
I think it's very, well, it's a mixture of those. I mean, a lot of people want to do it, but for instance, in Spain, for years, we have had very disadvantageous policies, which basically were kind of making it expensive to install solar, because otherwise you would have a sort of a compensating tax. And what have these things to do with? That's actually because there are so many interests in the background. So in the beginning, when I was studying sustainability in Delft as a student, we were already taught that actually solar panels could be way more efficient than they were at the time, but that at the time Shell was actively blocking the development of these very much more efficient solar panels. And here in Spain, for instance, the gas natural and the energy companies, they have an influence on the government, and they have been trying to basically stop solar from becoming the go-to choice, because it should be. And so in lots of countries where there is not enough solar compared to what they should have in terms of climate, I mean, Spain is just perfect for solar. It is usually about that sort of bureaucracy. It is getting a little better in Spain now, but it's still behind. If you look in the Netherlands, where we have cloudy skies 200 days a year, although you can still generate a lot of energy in a cloudy sky. You don't need the sun, you just need light. Everybody's installing solar, but that's because there are advantageous payback schemes, and that's what we need to get to here, but we're not quite there yet. I mean, they've just improved it a little bit now, but in Spain, we need to make some more steps in that direction, because you know, with solar, we can generate a very, very large amount of the world's energy. So there's not actually, we don't actually have a problem, but the old industries, the coal, the oil, they have so many lobbies, they have so much money. And so they're just working against it, even though it seems illogical, because it's also a very big industry. If you're thinking about the development of your economy, you know, Germany has been good in this respect. You know, if you develop your renewables industry, there's going to be more work. You know, you move away. We can move away a little bit from tourism, because that's going to take a hit right now. And we should be investing in renewables and sustainability, and because that is the future. And if you do that early, that would be very good for the economy. But the government is not, the problem is that the people in the government are not visionary enough. And so if there's a lot of lobby out there and they are working hard, the lobbyists, and there's a lot of money going into that lobby, and in oil, there is so much money. So until the oil is gone, that will keep being a problem. And yeah, we need people to actually go against and do what you're doing and installing solar, because that would be really the way to go.
I agree that until what you said, that until the oil is gone, they're not going to be they're not going to invest more in this. I don't know in the rest of the countries, at least in Europe, but here in Spain, the investment, the amount of the investment is too expensive, and the problem is that the payback is in an average of 10 years. So most of the people, they don't want to invest in that. And then obviously, because they work differently, I mean, we had several problems like 12 years ago with the government and all the money they stole from renewable energy. So people, they have a little fear. They really don't want, they don't trust them, because they think that there's all political thing behind it. And that's the main problem. But obviously here in Spain, we have more sun than in any other country in Europe, yeah. and also wind as well. So we can use both of them and combine them. And for example, yeah. for a house to be completely 100% sustainable, auto-efficient, with two of them is enough just yeah. to heat the water or to produce electricity. But the problem is that all the things that all the energy that you produce, you generate, the energy that you don't use, you need to just throw it away to the REE here, La Red Eléctrica Española here in Spain, and they don't pay you. So it's like, I'm doing a very huge investment in solar panels or other renewable energies, and they don't give you any aids. So I understand that people, they really don't want to invest in this, at least at the moment.
What we sometimes do is we, instead of giving people a solar installation that would cover all their energy needs, if they can also be connected to the Red Eléctrica, we make an installation that is smaller and that basically takes care of the heavy installations like, you know, heating, cooling, etc. And so they cancel out. So basically people's energy bill gets reduced to, I don't know, $700 per year in total, you know, for all their energy. Because on days when they don't need all that, it just goes into their use, especially people who work from home, or at least one of them, that can be, you know, very efficient. So they don't need to pay it back, give it back to the network. And so they have a slightly smaller installation. Sometimes that works out as a better investment. Yeah, because you're right, that is part of the problem.
Totally agree.
And from the architectural point of view, there's no barrier for that, right? I mean, the installation is not in any way bad for the buildings or the weight it carries or the shape, whatever. So it's just
no, because you need to just adapt the load-bearing construction to be able to carry the panels. And you need to figure out, it affects the design sometimes, because you need to figure out where the panels go. Like in the building in Aragon, we were lucky because there's a separate building, which is a garage. And so we could make that perfect with a sloping south-facing roof in the right pitch. And so we could keep it away from the building, because sometimes what people think, like, I'm building this beautiful house and now I don't want to see those solar panels, even though you should actually be proud of them. But no, from a point of view of architecturally, I'm completely in favor. And the best thing is for people for things to be resolved on a neighborhood level. So this is something that, for instance, in Dutch city planning they are doing, which I'm very much in favor for. So what you see sometimes is that if people give back the electricity to the network, and that's partly also something that's been happening in certain areas of Spain, is that the electricity company was saying our network is not developed in order to handle so much energy being put into the network. And so sometimes when you devise like a new neighborhood, and it can all be thought up in advance, then these things can be taken into account. So you could have a storage facility just for the neighborhood, you know, or like a number of blocks. And then that's much more efficient as well, because then you have less losses, and then it can be stored and doesn't have to go all centralized. But that takes a lot of quite advanced urban planning, and that is not, that doesn't happen everywhere. That's part of the problem.
Okay, thank you very much, Olivier. Any more questions? So I think we are ending it here.
Julia was raising her hand.
Ah, okay, I didn't notice, so go ahead.
Hello, hi. I was wondering if in the past few weeks, due to the corona, you saw some changes in the market, if you saw things slowing down, or if everything went quite normal, let's say, because in some countries, the construction sites carried on the way they should do. And in others, there has been quite a few problems. So I was wondering, like, how did you guys feel about this few weeks, and how, if it felt different, or if it was actually quite normal?
Well, in our case, was not at all normal regarding the construction sites. In Kazakhstan, Saudi Arabia, and even in Spain, we stopped. I mean, all the construction works were stopped. most of them. Regarding the office works were really normal process, but the construction works were totally stopped and they are restarting now. They were like 4 weeks stopped.
And also the restart, I mean, is different. If you go to a building site, you need to wear your masks. There cannot be enough people concentrated in the same place. You need also to protect everything. I mean, it's more uncomfortable, but it's something that is provisional. I think it's not going to be like this for the next 3 months. I mean, I think it's going to be until the end of phase 3, and after that, probably before, and after that, we keep on going with normal as we can. But obviously, they were really affected, because to stop a building site is always a problem. I mean, you keep on working with the office work, but all the deadlines that you have and all the supplying things and everything, I mean, it gets a mess that you need to reorganize again. And well, it's not impossible, so that's a good plan, to be positive in these moments.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we also had, well, all the sites had to stop for a few weeks, and then we had 2 where they could pick up the work because of the phase they were in. So in one, they were actually in excavation and foundations, and so they could more easily organize that the workers were not close to each other or whatever. And in the other case, they were actually in the finishing phase, but it's close to Barcelona, and so it was easy for people to all travel there separately, and it's a very big house, so there were so many bathrooms already finished, so we could actually provide people also with places where they could, you know, change and wash and whatever. But then we had the other sites where we had to stop for longer. I did find, and that's why I was so inspired by Miriam's presentation, because for us, it was the first time to work like this. You know, we are 5 people in one open plan office. So there is no, well, there's a meeting room. But our normal office, we sit in the same space. And I, as boss, sometimes find that there's a lot of distraction. And so I've been finding this very inspiring to think about maybe just changing the way we work, and even when we're back in the office, to have like periods of flow where everybody, instead of calling out with questions, just, you know, deal with that differently. And the tools we've been using have been helpful in that. So I think, and everybody has been finding the same thing. So the staff also was saying, you know, oh, I find I can concentrate so well. And, you know, so I think it's going to have an effect on the way we work. And maybe some people that don't live in Barcelona, maybe they don't have to travel all the way to Barcelona every day to come and work in the office. Now we've seen that they can have a few days working from home, and they can be very concentrated. And so it's, in our case, definitely going to also affect our office work, our way of working, in a good way.
And in terms of construction site, do you reckon that we will go towards more of a prefabricated kind of way of construction because of this?
Well, not because of this necessarily, but I think it is going in that direction anyway, because if the rules for environmental control and CO2 footprint and less waste, if those rules are getting stricter and stricter, then it will become more and more interesting. So previously, like 10 years ago, to think about a prefabricated project, that's a unique project, but you prefabricate it, that could have been relatively kind of making things more difficult and more expensive. And it was more of a tool that you'd use for apartment buildings, you know, bigger buildings. But I think that's changing more and more, you know, because there are so many things that are for which they use CNC milling and, you know, offsite preparation, and those things are just becoming more and more normal and more affordable. So I think so.
Yeah, thank you.
Miguel has disappeared.
He's gone.
I'm here. I'm almost.
There you are.
So, anything else? Any more questions? Okay, I think we can leave it here. I would like to thank you once again for this very interesting topics. I really enjoyed it, and I hope that you all enjoyed it too. So I just have to say thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks to you.
Thank you for organizing it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.